Antony, good afternoon. Thanks for coming in.
Afternoon, Devon.
Well, as I said off camera, I suppose the confusion around mobile phone contracts is as old as the mobile phone itself, and some argue that it's in the interests for mobile companies or in mobile companies not to have this confusion go away. What's your take?
Devon, I think we exist in a very complicated cellular market. There are 5 different service providers out there. There are 4 networks.
Yeah.
There are a handful of MVNOs, with one being announced as recently as today. And there are over 10,000 different combinations of packages and bundle out there in the market. So the market is complicated. And the cell phone providers don't make it much easier to really understand what's going on. Transparency has been a big issue in the market for a long time, and we haven't seen much improvement. We've seen certain players trying to improve that, but it looks like more of a marketing or PR stunt than anything else. There's definitely still a need for further transparency in the industry.
It's interesting you talk about transparency. We've seen the Consumer Commission, we've seen ICASA being quite particular about this through the years. This is not a new thing. But somehow one gets the impression that the big players try and find a way around it. I look at my contract, it still looks confusing.
Yeah, and that's a problem that the market's faced for years, and unfortunately consumers haven't had any tools to understand that. You get your itemized cell phone bill, makes no sense to you. You see a whole bunch of charges that look like they could be in Chinese. And the consumers don't have any, as I say, they don't have any tools to help them find their way through and navigate what's going on in their contracts and what's going on in their spend. And that's where a company like Tariffic really comes in. Yep. So we help companies understand their cell phone bills, and we analyze the bills very scientifically to find the best packages for each of their employees.
I want to understand why we're being charged seemingly high prices. The networks have been saying this, particularly over the last few months, saying that there are inflationary pressures on their network running costs. We also hear the fact that the weak rand has an impact on the price of equipment, etc. Do you buy that? There has to be some reasoning in that argument.
Yeah, I think those points are definitely valid, and I can't speak, and I don't sit on the excos of these operators. I can't speak for exactly what's going through their minds, but what I can say is that average revenues per user have been going down in the cell phone space. People have been using less voice and more data, which is much cheaper, and that's a problem that cell phone providers have had for a while. And also people moving away from SMS and moving to WhatsApp. WhatsApp's now offering voice calling, which is going to put some more pressure on the bottom line. So there are behavioral changes that are happening in the industry, and it's definitely affecting the bottom lines of the service providers.
Okay. At some point in this interview, you would have a viewer at home saying, all right, so tell me, what can I do to save costs? You get this notion, or you have this idea that some have said the way to go is pay as you go, move yourself or free yourself away from this contract and the so-called free phone syndrome that's often told, because that sucks your money, some say. Is there any truth in that? What's the best way to get involved with a network but save money?
Okay, so to answer the latter question first, I think prepaid definitely can be advantageous if you understand what you're getting yourself into. You won't have the benefits that come with the contract. You won't get that free phone in any way. That free phone, we could chat about that later. But you won't get any subsidy towards a phone, and you won't be able to finance a phone if you're on prepaid. And then you have to top up the whole time. You won't get the same international roaming capabilities. So the pros and cons of each one. But to answer your first question, for people at home to actually understand what's going on, there's a couple of things they could do. Firstly, they need to try and understand exactly how they're using their phone, how much data they're using, how many minutes are they calling for, how many SMSs are they sending. Once you have that picture, then you could find the best contract for you. It's very difficult, as I said, there are over 10,000 combinations of packages and bundles out there in the market, so it's very difficult for someone to do that if they don't have the tools, but it's definitely a starting point. And I think the easiest thing to do is just to add on the right bundles. A lot of people, we see it all the time, that people are paying an arm and a leg in data costs just because they don't have the right bundles in place. And all you need to do to combat that is to have a look at your itemized bill, see how much you're spending over and above your data bundle, and then bolt on a bundle. It's cheap, and it's going to save consumers a fortune.
All right, hopefully we can see those costs coming down at some point in the months to come. Antony Seeff, the CEO of Tariffic, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, consumer inflation is on the rise again. The Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate at which prices change